Welcome to Cookie's Maths and Science Hub. Today we'll be covering the topic of rates of reactions and how we can change the rate of a reaction. Before we get into discussing rates, let's discuss how reactions occur. Reactions occur through what we call the collision theory. The collision theory states that for a chemical reaction to occur, the reacting particles must collide with one another. For collisions to be successful, reacting particles must collide with enough energy, called the activation energy, and with the proper orientation, meaning they must orientate themselves correctly and collide correctly with enough energy to react fully. There are four main ways to change how quickly or how slowly a reaction occurs. These are temperature, concentration or pressure, pressure being for gases and acts in a similar vein to concentration, which we'll discuss shortly, surface area of a solid material, and through the use of a catalyst. We will now explore each of these concepts in detail. Remembering back to our particle theory and talking about our states of matter, you should remember that increasing the temperature increases the energy that particles have. By increasing the energy of particles, we are also increasing the speed of these particles. If we increase the speed of particles that are about to react, what we are doing is making them move quicker, and hence more collisions can occur within an isolated system. As there are more collisions occurring, there's a higher chance of more successful collisions. More successful collisions means a higher rate of reaction, and as such, the reaction occurs quicker. Now, we've discussed increasing the rate here. For all the examples we'll use in this video, we'll talk about increasing the rate, but of course the opposite could be done, in this case, lowering the temperature to decrease the rate of reaction. Concentration refers to the number of particles present in a solution or within a space. So, increasing a concentration will mean there are more particles present. If there are more particles present, that means more collisions are going to occur. Much like our temperature example, more collisions means more successful collisions. More successful collisions, therefore, gives us a quicker reaction rate. The converse obviously being decreasing the reaction rate by lowering the concentration. The reason pressure falls under the same space is that if you apply more pressure to a gas system, you enclose the space it is in, effectively making more particles for the amount of space, meaning that the reaction will proceed quicker as increasing the pressure reduces that amount of space, meaning the particles have less space to move around and leads to more collisions within that space. Surface area is a bit of a trickier concept as it relates only to solid reactants. Think about it this way. If you were to bite an apple, there are only so many places on the apple you can bite, as it only has one surface surrounding it. However, if I was to cut that apple in half, you can now see there are far more spots on the apple you can bite. This is similar to the way that increasing our surface area can affect the rate of reaction. If we have a solid reactant, something that is large and a single shape, like a sphere for example, and we break it down into smaller parts, there are far more sites where other reactants can react with that solid now. By increasing the amount of active sites, we're allowing for more collisions to occur. More collisions means more successful collisions. More successful collisions means a faster reaction rate overall. Finally, we have a catalyst. Catalysts are unique in that they do not act in the similar way to temperature, concentration, and surface area, but instead lower the overall energy required for a reaction to occur. Catalysts do this by offering an alternate energy pathway for the reaction. The important thing to qualify for a catalyst is that it is not consumed in the reaction. In other words, it doesn't affect the product we are producing, only providing an alternate pathway for that reaction to occur. By lowering the energy requirement for collisions, we allow more successful collisions. As we have more successful collisions, we have a faster reaction rate. Catalysts are unique in that there are a lot of biological enzymes and different matters such as that allow for these processes to occur in biological matter. For example, a catalyst known as amylase breaks down a lot of carbohydrates and starch within our body systems when we consume food. There are many more examples that we won't cover here, but something to consider if you're going down a biology tree with your content knowledge of rates of reactions. We can represent how a reaction occurs by using a potential energy diagram. Here's one on the right now. You can see as we proceed from our reactants, we go through a change in energy to our products. This curve, or the bit where it rises up and then switches down to our products, is our activation energy. This is how much energy is required for this reaction to take place. Now, remembering back to your basics of chemical reactions, there are two types of reactions: endothermic and exothermic. Endothermic absorb energy. This, on a potential energy diagram, is much like our image here, where the products have more energy than the reactants. As you can see, the products are higher on our y-axis than our reactants. Exothermic, on the other hand, release energy. If you were to see one of these diagrams, the reactants would be higher on our y-axis than our products, which would be lower because of the change in energy within that reaction, where it releases that energy. These diagrams work very well to show the alternate pathway taken when a catalyst is used in a reaction. Adding a catalyst pathway here, you can see that as we go from our reactants to our products, less overall energy is required, as that catalyst has given us an alternate pathway for that reaction to proceed. We can also measure directly the rate of a reaction by measuring how much product or reactant is consumed. Given this in a formula, our rate of reaction is equal to the change in amount of product or reactant over time. We can do this through number of moles, and I suggest you check out my moles video for more information on what a mole is, or through the concentration, that being the number of particles present over time. This can also be calculated from given values such as mass, volume, and, as I mentioned, concentration or moles. It can also be found from a gradient on a graph of product produced or reactant consumed versus time. As remembering gradient is rise over run, effectively you're just doing that same equation. This is a more advanced topic and won't come up until your further years in chemical studies in chemistry. So don't stress too much about this if it's a bit confusing for you now or it's something you haven't covered in class. Thanks for watching. Hopefully now you have a strong understanding of rates of reactions and how we can change the way a rate of a reaction proceeds. Be sure to like, share and subscribe this video and keep an eye out for further maths and science videos. Hope to see you again soon.